Hello, this video is part of my continuing series on the chapters of Bertrand Russell's book, The Conquest of Happiness. And in this video we're going to be looking at Chapter 4, Boredom and Excitement. This video is also a video response to a recent video by To Be Serious called Boredom in YouTube. In her video she's talking about a study which shows that there's a correlation between violence and boredom. And this correlation is actually something that Bertrand Russell knew about decades earlier, and I believe he gives an explanation for this in The Conquest of Happiness. He tells us that the opposite of boredom is not pleasure, but it's excitement. And here's what he says about this. Boredom is essentially a thwarted desire for events, not necessarily pleasant ones, but just occurrences such as will enable the victim of ennui to know one day from another. So the bored person is looking for something that will make him feel alive, and many people are actually fleeing from boredom. Many people find the state of boredom to be unbearable, and they want to escape it as quickly as possible. And one quick and easy way to escape boredom is through violent activity. Violent activity tends to be exciting. It may not be pleasurable. Often violence can lead to pain rather than pleasure, but it can be exciting. And so it can lead people to engage in. So the fear of boredom can lead people to engage in violent activity. And Russell recognizes this, and he says, wars, pogroms, and persecutions have all been part of the flight from boredom. Even quarrels with neighbors have been found better than nothing. Boredom is therefore a vital problem for the moralist, since at least half the sins of mankind are caused by the fear of it. So violence is a way to escape from boredom. People are trying to flee from boredom, and they end up engaging in violence. So the problem here is not boredom itself. The problem is the flight from boredom, the desire to escape from boredom. And now Russell points out that there are two kinds of boredom. There's the fructifying kind of boredom, which he says arises from an absence of drugs. This is the good kind of boredom. And then there's the stultifying kind of boredom, which he says arises from an absence of vital activity. And I think he gives a good description of the stultifying kind of boredom here. I think he's not doing justice when he says the fructifying kind is simply arising from the absence of drugs. I think he's shortchanging us on what he really means here. But anyway, there is a good kind of boredom. For example, you may experience this kind of boredom through meditation. I meditate regularly, and sometimes it is a boring activity, but it's also a rewarding and fulfilling activity. Even when it's boring, I get something important out of it. And that's the fructifying kind of boredom. It's an important part of our life, and we need that to feel joy, to feel happy, to feel satisfied with ourselves. It's important. But if we are fleeing from boredom, if we're always seeking some kind of stimulation, then we're going to miss out on the fructifying kind of boredom. So this is one reason why he says we should cultivate the capacity to endure boredom. He believes this is essential to living a happy life. And he gives a few other reasons for why we want to develop the capacity to endure boredom. One is that too much excitement is exhausting, and too much stimulation dulls sensitivity to excitement. So to renew our capacity to appreciate excitement, we need to endure periods of boredom. Also, great works of literature often contain boring moments. And so if we want to appreciate what a great work of literature, we need to have the capacity to endure its more boring parts in order to appreciate it as a whole. I would say the same pretty much holds true for great works of music. In fact, the excitement of some classical works of music depends upon a juxtaposition of boring and exciting parts. In fact, there may be a tension between the more boring parts and the more exciting parts, building up to some finale, which is the most exciting part of the piece of music. Also, there's more to great music than just excitement. For example, New Age music, such as what you might hear on Music from the Hearts of Space. It often has a meditative quality to it. Lots of New Age music and ambient music and some of the slower classical music may help you get in touch with the more fructifying kind of boredom, which is good to have in your life. He also points out that we need to be in touch with natural rhythms. Maintaining a rhythm between excitement and quieter moments helps us to do this. And although the power to endure boredom is essential to our happiness, a degree of excitement is also important. And let me quote what he says here. I do not want to push to extremes the objection to excitement. A certain amount of it is wholesome, but like almost everything else, the matter is quantitative. Too little may produce morbid cravings. Too much will produce exhaustion. So, instead of a reckless flight from boredom, which may lead to violence, we should choose exciting activities in a mindful and deliberate manner. Russell particularly thinks we should limit the passive forms of excitement. He thinks we should rarely go to the movies, for example. And bringing this up to date, we shouldn't just passively watch videos on television and movies on our monitors or TVs or whatever. To Be Serious also mentions that bored people feel a sense of meaninglessness. I think meaninglessness is certainly one aspect of vital activity. Being more meaningful makes activity more vital. And although I do enjoy passive entertainment, particularly videos and television, I avoid sorts I don't consider meaningful, such as America's Funniest Videos or Spectator Sports or murder mysteries. These days I spend most of my television time watching Korean dramas, which tell extended stories about people engaged in meaningful activity, most typically about becoming a monarch or finding true love. Now, a healthy approach to choosing exciting activities should include meaningful activities of a non-passive nature. These may include challenging yourself physically, or actively learning about new things, or creating or making things. For myself, one of my main interests is chess variants. I create chess variants, I play chess variants, and I program them. For about the past 10 years, I've been working on a project called Game Courier, which is where you can play chess variants against other people online. I've written a programming language for this, which I use to enforce the rules of various games. So I program various games to be able to enforce the rules. And when I'm working on this, whether it's creating Game Courier itself, developing it, or playing games on it, I find this, or creating games, of course, I find this to be rewarding and fulfilling activity. I find this to be exciting and very meaningful sense. I should mention here that my videos, I have made videos on my games and on one game I think, and on some other games and on Game Courier, and you can find those on my other channel, F. Donahoe. Thank you for watching. If there is one thing Russell would like you to get from this chapter, it is that the power to endure boredom is essential to a happy life. It will let you enjoy the good kind of boredom, the fructifying kind, as well as works of great literature and music that have boring moments. It's also quite handy for learning things, as many things you have to learn may be boring. It will also keep excitement from losing its luster, and it will keep you more in sync with natural rhythms. Let me now end this video by quoting the last line of this chapter. A happy life must be to a great extent a quiet life, for it is only in an atmosphere of quiet that true joy can live.